You know, I know we don't get as much mail, first class mail as we used to. We're getting more and more stuff electronic. But I turned this very nice letter opener about 10 years ago when I first started, shortly after I first started turning. I turned it on my little Jet 1014, and it was a fun project. It's so I thought some of y'all might be interested in this. They make a nice little gift because they are kind of special. It fits in your hand and it does very well. But I found a piece of exotic wood we're going to use today. It's a it's a 3/4 inch piece of decking, scrap decking. It's called Goncalvo Alves or tiger wood. This piece is not figured like some of I've seen, but it's going to be very hard and it will work real well. Hi, it's Mike Peace, Mike Peace Woodturning, and I'm passionate about wood turning, and I'm here to share with you tips, tricks, and techniques to help you become a better wood turner. So let's get started. We're going to do this between centers. First thing we're going to do is sort of mark the centers. I probably ought to measure this thing because I don't want to lose any bit of the wood. But I think I'll probably do fine by just marking it with a center. I don't think I'm going to be off much. And if I lose a 30/2 of an inch, it's not going to make any difference. Okay, so we're going to put that between centers. I'm using a little short steb center, and then we're going to bring up tailstock support. Okay, now I'm going to crank down, but I'm not going to bring it all the way down until it. There we go. Now, the issue is just turn this thing by hand, and if it's slipping, it's not tight enough, so it's not engaging. So I've got to press a little bit harder here. And unfortunately, by doing that, I've cracked this piece. All right, let me step back and flood this with a little thin CA, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I flooded that area with that crack with a little CA, clamped it for a bit, and then I drilled this hole. I took an awl, opened up that hole a little bit so the point would not force it as a wedge to crack. So it was deep enough where it'd hold the point, and the racing ring or the cup on this live center would now support it. So I think we're in good shape. And I used a little different steb center that didn't have the spring is missing, so I made sure the hole was big enough so it didn't require this to press as hard. So with that said, we're going to get the speed up. We're turning between centers, very safe, so we're going to get up close to 2,000, just rough it out. All right, we're almost there. Still got a little bit of a flat here, a little bit of flat here. Not too bad, so I'm going to finish that up with a skew, get a nice planing cut. Getting a little bit of chatter, so I'm going to slow my feed rate down. When you get chatter with a skew, you can do a couple of things. You can slow the feed rate down, you can slow the lathe down. Sometimes you can speed the lathe up. Okay, I don't think I mentioned the size of this piece of wood. It's about 10 inches long, and this is going to be about 9.5. The actual handle length is about 3.5 inches. So I'm pretty much going to duplicate this. I like the design then, and I like it now. So we're going to have a bead here. This is going to be where I'm going to mark the end of the handle. And a little bit of a bead there. Mark those things a little bit. And then come down from the handle here. All right, we're going to actually start tapering down here and work our way back, keeping as much mass to the left as possible. So we're going to kind of come down here a little bit. And I'm going to use the skew to kind of taper this blade down. Nice gentle taper, coming down to a fairly blunt point. We'll resolve the details on that point later. All right, next we're going to do the bead on the handle. Just come in on each side. We're going to do this bead. And then the knob. All right, now I'm going to use a spindle gouge. And let me see if I can't get you a little closer view. All right, doing that. All right, so we're going to come in here and do this nice taper down right here to this bead. Now we're going to taper in from the handle. Then roll this bead over, lift, twist, and swing. Same thing back in the other direction. Lift, twist, swing the handle wide. From about the last 40% of the handle, we're going to bring it down. Bring it down into this bead. Let's go ahead and bring the bead down. You can make whatever design you want. This is just a design I picked up somewhere that I liked. Round over this bead. We're going to do the final shaping on a disc sander, that blade. There's a couple possibilities. Some folks would take it over to the bandsaw. I think for this wood, I'm probably not going to want to do that. Now we're going to turn this big knob. It doesn't take a lot of turning. This is certainly well within the range of a beginner. You know, you can skip all the skew work if you like. We're just going to take this down here a little bit. Go back and look at that handle. Actually, I want to taper it down just a little bit here in the middle. So this is going to be the narrowest part. Just gives it a nice graceful curve, and it fits good in your hand. And since I'm doing a big cove, got to be mindful of the grain. Cut downhill. Okay, something I don't quite like about this shape, and I think it's because I haven't tapered it in enough from here. Okay, I think I've just about got it. Very nice wood. Any hardwood will do fine. Very hard wood. Exotic woods are very nice. Could be ebony, could be padauk. But absent that, any hard domestic wood, a hard maple work fine. My favorite, Bradford pear, do fine. I think a piece of persimmon would give you a nice look if you got some of that. Okay, want this bead to strongly resemble this bead. They're a little thick. I think I will come down here a little bit, make it a little thinner. Nothing right or wrong with your design, as long as you like it and it feels good in your hand. You make a mistake and you fix it, nobody will know. And I want a curve in here a little bit. I don't want it straight. I want it to curve just a little bit. Curves really help the design. Okay, I think we're pretty much done. Now all I've got to do is sand this a little bit, and we'll be in good shape. Okay, I'm using sanding paste to reduce the dust. And because this is a piece of exotic wood that's very hard, South America, it's used for decking, among other things. I want to get rid of some of these scratches that might be hard to remove with some of that abrasive paste. So I'm going to go ahead and go up to 320. Okay, and then of course with every grit we're going to go with the grain, get rid of those radial scratches. And I'm liking the look of this. This is looking good. Now I'm going to go ahead and use some of that abrasive paste on there, liquid sandpaper, if you will. And we're just going to rub it on with the lathe off and get a nice coat. And this ought to take this thing up to the equivalent of 3 times that last grit. It ought to give us a look as almost as if we'd sanded it up to 920, 1000, close to it, somewhere like that. All right, now we're just going to let this wax mineral oil and pumice and diatomaceous earth, rotten stone, let it do its work. Slow speed. We're just going to keep it moving, and now those particles will break down further and further. Just keep this paper towel moving. You know, I keep getting questions after those videos I did about you know, putting finish over wax, and I think the key is removing every bit of it you can. Although in this case I'm going to be using an oil finish, so it won't make any difference. You don't have any problem with oil finishes over wax. Actually, I meant to put on some sanding sealer before I put on this abrasive paste to kind of fill in the pores, because this does have some pretty thick pores to it, but I think it's not going to make any difference. I think it's going to be fine. So I'm going to come down here and okay, that looks good. Now we're going to start just cutting it off as a V cut. So now I'm going to reach over the lathe. My left hand going to obscure the vision a little bit, but let me see if I can change cameras here. And maybe that'll give you a little better view. And we can probably magnify that just a bit and tilt the camera a little bit. I'm still struggling with these web cameras a little bit, make sure I'm getting the best view, so bear with me. I've got just a little bit of a groove there. A little bit of a ridge I think I need to cut out. Uh-oh. All right. That's what's called a catch, but no problem. I think I can cut it off. Let's see what it looks like. Oh yeah, I could feel it, but it didn't really cut that much, so we're just going to touch it up real quick with some sandpaper before we finish parting it off. And although this looks very shiny, this is not a finish. It just gets rid of the fine scratches. Gotta have room for this to take the final pass, final cut. Come at an angle, right at the bevel. It's not turning, so it is loose. Okay, we'll touch this up with a little hand sanding, and then we'll take a chisel to cut this off, or a small saw, before we go over to the sander. Okay, I think you can see from the hand sanding I've got this cleaned up pretty good, and now we're just going to cut this tip off with this fine flush cut saw, because we're going to do the final shaping on the bandsaw. On the sander. Okay, that'll do just fine. Now on most woods, you're going to try to get the flat grain on each side. For this, it's very difficult to even spot where that flat grain is, but for illustration purposes, we're going to say this is the flat grain, and that's the part that we're going to sand. So we're going to try to get that evenly on both sides. So those And we're going to use this homemade sanding disc. I did a video on this a while back. We'll see what happens. Most of the action is going to be on the outside. The RPMs are the same, but obviously the speed is faster here. So we're going to kind of go slow. And we probably, you know what the heck, let's put a little sanding abrasive on here. Not abrasive, but sanding paste to keep the dust down. So we got a start. Now I got a flat area I can put my finger to kind of get it even on both sides. Now, like I say, some people will take this to a bandsaw and draw a line here and go ahead and cut this out on the bandsaw, and that's certainly a possibility. And for this hardwood, it might not have been a bad idea, but we're going to sand it out. Just going to take us a little while. So I'm going to come back in a little while and show you the final results after I sit here and sand it for a while. You don't need to watch that. Now I think it is important on this sanding to show you. I'm going to start rolling the edge over a little bit. So this is kind of an oval, sharp oval shape. So we're going to do that by starting here and then just tilting it, rolling it over, and then we're going to do that on all sides. Now once we get it power sanded, let's see if I can move this back. We want to do some hand sanding, so I'm going to go up through all 3 grits and just smooth off any rough edges and kind of work that profile a little bit, kind of polish it a little bit so don't have any rough edges. Like I say, I'm going to go up to 320. Now the tip, you want it kind of round. You don't want it too sharp, but you do want to get the edge not pointed, I guess, but you want to get the blade, you know, a little bit of an edge around that tip. All I've got to do now is really just put 3 or 4 coats of antique oil on there, and I've got it. And I've got a nice little gift for somebody. Got any comments? You know the drill. Put the comments below. If you're a visitor, I'd appreciate if you make any comments, and if you like this video, like it. If you want to share it with somebody on social media, that'd be wonderful. Y'all stay safe and come on back here.